Now the question is, can I actually make my own RAM? To start, how does RAM actually work? If we take a look and we zoomed into one of the chips on a stick of RAM, what we would find are tens of thousands of rows and columns that make up an array, where each intersection has a transistor and a charge storage capacitor. Silicon is the starting material for making RAM, where here I take a whole wafer and then cleave it down to smaller workable chips. So I use a solvent cleaning process with acetone and isopropanol alcohol. The silicon chips are next loaded up into a furnace and heated to 1,100 degrees Celsius or 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. We're talking volcanic lava temperatures, and this is in order to rust the silicon, effectively growing 3,300 angstroms of oxide or glass on the surface in order to mask and protect it, giving it this nice lime green color. With a layer of glass now on our silicon chips, it can be a little tricky in order to coat different materials, so I first apply liftoff resist. I coat that onto the surface. Now this is normally meant, hence the name, for lifting off metal layers here. UV light is used in combination with the mask, where the mask only allows light to pass through designed openings and shine onto the photoresist, exposing it. We can see the design through the eyepieces and the camera, where custom software controls the focus and exposure. The areas exposed to UV light are developed with our robot friend for better uniformity, and ultimately removed, forming our patterned photoresist. Using the photoresist layer as a mask, the patterned areas are dry etched, where we selectively remove that glass layer to get back down to the silicon surface. With the etching step complete, we no longer need the photoresist mask. So the photoresist is stripped in heated DMSO. Weird enough, people actually take this as a form of medication, but the semiconductor industry actually uses it as a strong solvent to remove photoresistant LOR. We can coat the phosphorus doped spin-on glass, and then we can proceed to bake it. And to get that, what we're going to do is we're first going to anneal with the phosphorus doped spin-on glass at 1,100 degrees Celsius for 5 minutes, strip the spin-on glass in hydrofluoric acid, and then do a drive-in anneal at 1,000 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes. As such, I perform a clean known as a piranha clean, which will viciously attack any organics and most metals on the surface. So we're going to grow at a lower temperature of only 950 degrees Celsius, and if we put it in there for 38 minutes, we get 200 angstroms, or 20 nanometers of oxide. HF, or hydrofluoric acid, is again utilized where that can go into the photoresist and LOR openings in order to remove any glass on the silicon surface, thereby forming a nice pathway for electrical connection. Where the sample is loaded up into my sputter system, where we have argon that hits the metal target, and then the metal atoms fall off and are effectively... So how do we effectively remove our stencil? How do we remove the photoresist layers here? Well, we can stick that in, once again, DMSO and heat that up. It's always cool to see where we can start to see the metal buckle and then eventually start to peel off of the surface. Looking at it under the microscope post-liftoff process, what we can see is that we can see our complete structure now. We have the transistors, the capacitors, all the connections that we need in order to have our DRAM array. Looking at them together now as one individual DRAM cell, the transistor can very rapidly and quickly charge up our charge storage capacitor to 3 volts within a couple hundred nanoseconds, which is great. Okay, this is awesome. First time ever RAM has been made at home.